Can I help you with something?
Why, thank you so much for offering. You're such a chivalrous man. Seeing a woman in need. We are looking for a good officer of the law. What did you say his name was?
Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining us in our Percentile Vice. Tonight we'll be playing Call of Cthulhu, the Mr. Corbitt scenario from Mansions of Madness. I'm Steve, I'll be your keeper of arcane lore, and I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Emily. I'll be playing Alice Green, the Antiquarian.
Antiquarian?
I tried not to enunciate it.
That's why I decided to teach you about it.
Thanks. And this is John.
And you are?
I'm John.
Cowboy bootlegger.
The cowboy bootlegger. He's over there doing tech stuff.
All right, so when last we met, everybody had agreed that we'd have our phones on silent during these sessions.
Sorry.
Jackson and Alice had continued their investigations. They had found out the location of the name that was found in the books at the warehouse. Randolph Tomaszewski. With a little help from Rick Stevens, you found out that Tomaszewski had been in a little bit of trouble with the law, and you found out that he worked at the local hospital. You made a trip to the hospital to try to talk with him, and that did not go well at all. The minute you mentioned Mr. Corbitt's name, Tomaszewski got very agitated, took a haymaker swing at Jackson that missed, ran down the hallway. You guys ran after him. There was a bedpan involved, hitting the head. And it all culminated with Mr. Tomaszewski throwing himself out the third floor window.
Plummeting to his
death. And meeting his untimely demise.
Yeah.
Some discussion with doctors and police officers afterwards. And you came to the information that in Mr. Tomaszewski's personal locker, his effects there, that several human body parts wrapped in canvas were found among his belongings, and that met the MO of the body parts you saw Mr. Corbitt taking into his house several days ago. So you guys have made it back to, you went and did a little bit more research at the library, went back to the house to read the newspaper, where the morning's newspaper that in your haste to get to investigating you had not read that morning. Big headline stated that, basically, agents from the United States Bureau of Investigations. It wouldn't be called the FBI for some years later. But the United States Bureau of Investigations had come and taken possession of the body of a rabid cat. Through eyewitness accounts and quotes in the newspaper article, you're pretty sure that crazy skittering woman thing that John had let out of Corbitt's house was what they had taken of. But apparently the feds are referring to it as a rabid cat. So you are at your house. It is late afternoon on Tuesday. And you could hear a moaning sound emanating from across the street. But embedded in this moaning sound, you could hear an infant's cry. And it wasn't like there's an infant cry and there's this moaning sound and these two sounds are coming together, but it was like, it was a single sound. This moaning, deep moaning sound that had an infant cry aspect.
Right.
So, it's late afternoon. Mr. Corbitt is still at the office if he's keeping to his regular schedule, and all intel you've done so far tells you that he is very punctual. On work days, he leaves a few minutes before 8, gets home a few minutes after 5, except on Wednesdays, he comes home a little late. Often makes an afternoon trip on Sundays, and it was after one of those trips that you first saw him come into the house with and drop a parcel that contained what looked to be a small child's arm. So, the thing is yours.
Jackson, I don't know what that sound is, but I've never heard anything like it.
You've never heard moaning?
Not with that weird childlike crying embedded into it. That's so strange. Can you tell where it's coming from? Is it coming from Mr. Corbitt's house?
I think so.
I think that's what he told us last time, was that it was coming that... No, we didn't know. We both bombed listen rolls.
Is that true?
Guess you guys talk about it and bring it back to your collective attentions. Both of you give me a listen roll.
Listen. Failure on my part.
Hard success on mine.
So, Alice, all you know is it's coming from the direction of over there. But, Jackson, you really tune into it, and you can tell it's not only is it absolutely coming from Corbitt's house, it's coming from the lower level of Corbitt's house.
I'm pretty sure it's coming from the lower level or the basement.
Yes, the basement.
I'm pretty sure it's coming from the basement over there. So, I got me one of them ideas.
One of them their ideas.
Instead of us sticking our necks out, getting the old axe to the back, what do you say we go find some of these feds in town? Tell them we know a man who's got a whole slew of cats in the basement. And just point them on down here.
We could certainly try that. I didn't mean to roll spot hidden, I apologize.
What did she
Whatever it
say?
was, you saw it.
Okay, thanks.
Do you see a cat depositing a steak in the bush?
Now we gotta call the feds. There's an undercover cat planting stakes. We could certainly try. I don't know if we'd be able to find any feds or get access to them, but it's worth a shot. Where do you think that they'd be?
Of course, at Arkham Donuts.
If you're referring to Arkham House of Donuts, it usually closed by this time of day. It's one of those places that opens up at like 4 a.m. Come get your fresh donuts, and by 2 or so, they've shut her down.
They close down when they sell out, kind of thing? Yeah.
Night cops eat.
Exactly. Those poor night cops. That's why you don't want the night shift. They're
Cthulhu's
just,
House
they're
of
just
Pancakes.
treading water, marking time until 4 a.m.
Get those donuts.
towards the end of their shift when they go grab some donuts.
We could go down to the police station. They might be able to get us in contact. Usually there's a, if you know anything, please, report something. I don't know that they would do that for a stray cat, rabies-infested cat, but they might.
At this point, your phone starts ringing.
Oh. Green residence.
Is this Miss Alice Green?
It is. How can I help you?
This is Officer Thompson. I spoke with you briefly at Sisters of Mercy's Hospital today.
Yes, sir.
You were there to talk to a man about your girlfriend or something. When we spoke, we told you that we had found weird stuff in his belongings. And I just wanted to ask you a question because we had a more thorough look at his belongings. Was your friend involved in any an illicit drug activity? We found some rather strange concoctions. Our scientists tell us that it's probably a very powerful narcotic / hallucinogen. Are you aware of anything?
No. I mean, she only met him, like I told you once at a nighttime establishment, and But no, not that I'm aware of. No, she's not part of any of that. It was more of just
Well, equally alarming, and really the reason there's no other way to say it, evidence of satanic worship on the part of Mr. Tomazuski. We'd really be interested in talking with your friend. So if I could just get her name and number and address, if you have that.
I don't have her number and address. She doesn't currently have a phone, and she's not staying in town. But
Well, if you'll just give us her name and a quick description, we'll it's what we do. We'll find her.
I hear the way the conversation is going, and I would like to make a roll to surmise that the conversation is a policeman asking her about her friend.
Well, make her surmise roll. Give me a listen roll. There was no, speakerphones back there. She's got a phone pressed up to her. So first give me a listen roll, and we'll determine whether or not you can hear the officer's side of the conversation, or if this is only going to be based on you hearing Alice's side of the conversation.
Failed.
Would you like to spend 62 lunch points?
Lunch points.
Spend a lunch point. Give me your lunch points.
It's like Gemma's on the stream again.
So, only listening to her side, you can tell that. I'm going to say you can tell she's talking to a police officer because you've known her long enough. It wasn't but a couple hours ago that she made up the whole "I have this girlfriend" story. You've heard nothing about drugs or satanic worship from her side of the conversation. You only heard her say, "Well, no, she's acquaintance," but Alice did mention, they just kind of hooked up for a little bit, so you know that she is talking about the fictitious character she made up a couple hours ago, so you could surmise that she's probably talking to the cops.
I'm going to frantically...
Just say yes, that was a really long explanation. Yeah, sure.
I'm going to frantically... Hey, hold your hand over the receiver.
Okay, what?
Let me borrow your dress. I'll be your friend. We need to find out what they're going after here. We need to get to the bottom of this.
Officer, can you hold for 1 second? There's someone at my door. Hold on for 1 second.
I could just get that.
Then I'm gonna shove the receiver into a drawer. Do you really think that you could go to a police station in a dress and anybody's gonna buy that?
Did you see the guy? He wasn't going to be a chooser. He was going to be a beggar.
Would you consider yourself a good liar?
Look here. I just remember when I was a kid, I was reading a book about them Norse gods, the Vikings and all. Mm-hmm. This one time, this god named Thor, he had a hammer. One of the giants stole it. And he said, the only way you're going to get this hammer back is if you let me marry Freya, who was like the big lady god in charge of all the lady things. And basically what happened was, instead of sending Freya, Thor and Odin's brother Loki, they went together, but Thor was dressed up as Freya, and they managed to get the hammer back. So we need to go get this hammer. And you got dresses. I got a nice booty, if I say so myself.
Okay. Fine. And I'm going to pull the receiver back out the drawer. I apologize, officer. The next door neighbor was having...
If you could just give me the name and description of your friend so that we can complete our investigation.
Certainly. Her name is Agatha Thirsty, and I will be happy to... would you like for me to get in contact with her and have her come down to...
T-H-U-R?
No, I-R.
S-T...
Yeah, like when you need something to drink, thirsty. It's strange, I know, but it is her name. And she's a little sensitive about it. Would you like for me to contact her and have her come down to the station to talk to you?
Ma'am, you just told me you had no way of contacting her.
No, I said she didn't have a phone. I didn't say I couldn't get in contact with her.
I'm running an official investigation here, and you're playing semantics in the way that you answer these questions. Look, I need to contact this lady. Can you help me do that? Or are you going to further impede this investigation?
I don't wish to impede anything, officer. I'm simply trying to help. But yes, I can help you get into contact with her yourself if you are so inclined. Let me go grab my address book, and I will give you the address that she can be contacted at. Put the receiver back down.
And the address you said you didn't have.
I said that she didn't stay in town.
This is going off the rails so fast.
Okay, well, John's going to be in drag, so...
We'll see how that goes.
I had a plan. He wanted to do something different. So... I am going to give them... I'm going to find, like... Where's a good place for you to meet some police officers?
They have a home. The police station.
Yeah, but he doesn't want that. He wants to contact you himself.
I think he just doesn't want you to say, I'll send her down to the police station and not actually do it.
Okay, so what do I say to him?
Tell him I just showed up because I heard the news and you both are headed directly down there.
This is not going to go well. Officer, funnily enough, news has spread and my friend actually just turned up. I can see her coming up the drive now. We will come down to the police station promptly. Is that all right with you?
Yes, bring Miss Thirsty here straight away. If you're not here in 10 or 15 minutes, we'll send a car.
Certainly, sir. Thank you. Click. Go upstairs. Find something. We've got 10 minutes.
I don't know how to work all them things.
Well, this was your idea. I'm going to take him upstairs and put him in a dress.
Fine, he's in a dress.
We're going to go to the police station.
No makeup?
You going to shave your beard?
Sure.
I don't know how long that takes.
I mean, I can't exactly go down there with a beard, can I?
Give me a luck roll. You nicked yourself. You've got a little shaving cut on your cheek.
I'm going to get some little black paste stuff and give him a little beauty mark over it.
Nice.
I'm going to just grab like my whole makeup bag and we're going to get in the car and I'm going to like apply it on him as he drives.
Okay.
Save us some time.
You are now a painted lady.
I'm going to like take his socks off and my socks off and like shove him down his shirt, give him some very unattractive, lopsided breasts.
Great.
And we will arrive at the police station hopefully within 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay. It's probably been considering, Jackson needed somebody to help button up the back of the dress, and then he had to shave, and then he wanted to put on makeup. There's probably a small argument about whether or not he could fit into those high heel shoes or not. He was really interested in them, strangely so, but eventually convinced him that just wasn't going to work. You're walking into the Arkham police station, and there's one of those like counters in front of you, all mahogany wood, and it's like 6 feet tall, and sitting behind there is just this old desk sergeant.
How old?
He's pretty old, like 37.
Oh God, ancient.
He's in his 40s. Just looks like he's been around a little bit. Probably not too far from retirement.
Well, I'm a sashay right up to him. Say, hello, mister. How are you today?
Okay. So he looks down at you and what? Can I help you with something?
Why, thank you so much for offering. You're such a chivalrous man. Seeing a woman in need. We are looking for a good officer of the law. What did you say his name was?
Officer Thompson.
Officer Thompson.
Yes, I don't believe he needed some company. I believe he wanted to ask me some questions about some company I'd been keeping.
Okay, have a seat on those benches over there. I'll let him know you're here.
Or we could go with you.
And just have a seat.
Are you sure?
He doesn't even answer. He gets up and
We go sit down.
Chair, goes in the back, comes back out, sits down. Maybe 5-7 minutes later, officer you recognize as being the one who responded to the hospital walks out and says, "Miss Green, is this your friend?"
Yes, this is Agatha.
Hello.
You're Miss Thirsty.
You didn't tell me that he was going to be this handsome.
If you guys could just come in the back with me, please. And he leads you to a small conference room, maybe an interrogation room, probably. No windows, one middle table.
Are there any police officers like at desks on the way by? I'm just going to mutter, it looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
I'm going to elbow him very hard in the ribcage.
Fair enough. Are you going to dodge or fight back?
Neither.
Okay.
Just take it like a woman.
All right, you guys get in there. He pulls up 2 seats. He sits down at the table across from you, ceremoniously flops a manila file folder on, and he opens it up, and I need you to make a disguise roll.
What is that?
It's on your
It
character
says
sheet.
disguise.
Okay.
And you'll be needing you really needed a bush steak here. So he flips through it, and he takes his little notebook, and he flips through it. He's reading and says, "All right, Miss Green."
Yes.
Mr. Lancealot, what are you two up to?
I don't know who you're talking about. I am Mrs. Thirsty.
So you can stop the act right now, or I'll just put some cuffs on you and we'll charge you with your police investigation.
Okay. I will tell you what's going on. We went to see Mr. Randolph because we were looking into a neighbor of mine who had some mysterious goings on. We work with a private investigator, and we were investigating. Mr. Randolph did not know us, but when we asked him about a mutual contact, he fled. He became very aggravated and jumped out the window. But we are private investigators working with another investigator, and I think we stumbled on something a little bigger than we intended.
So let me get this straight. You were untruthful with us while we were trying to conduct an investigation into a suspicious death, and you decided that you would withhold information from the police officers, not only withhold information, but actually give us false information that would send us on a wild goose chase looking for a mysterious girlfriend.
Well, we weren't aware at the time that the death was going to ensue
Aware
so
or
much.
not, it's a simple question. You made the decision not to give us all the information and to give us false information?
Yes, sir. But I would like to be of help now. We have more information than you do.
I'm sure you would. Look, if you could just provide me with your private investigator's license, I'd like to add the number of that to my file.
I don't have it.
You don't have a private investigator's license. So you're conducting private investigations in this town without a private investigator's license.
Correct.
So we've got providing false information to a police officer, practicing private investigation without a license, and an obstruction of an investigation. Am I about summed it up right?
Yes.
We have pictures of a cat that I'm sure you would not like to get out in the open, but
I also know where human body parts are being stored in little brown packages.
Yeah, we found those.
But do you recall you never told me that they were body parts?
All right.
So maybe we try to all just work on this together, because we agree we stepped into something far above ourselves and thought we could handle it.
All right. So your negotiation position here may have improved a little bit, but not really.
I understand.
See, because investing all of this stuff is my job, and apparently a game for you. The game of which includes making my job harder. So, well, let's just play it this way. Tell me everything you know and tell it to me now.
Okay. A few days ago, Sunday afternoon, a neighbor of mine was going into his home, and he dropped a package. What fell out seemed to be a small child's hand. He also had another rounder package. I don't know what was in that one, but I can assume, given shape and size, that it was probably something to the effect of a head. He went into his home, and we began trying to figure out what was going on. We found that he was keeping that infected cat, as the FBI would like to call it, in his basement, and it got out. It's not a cat. I don't know if you actually saw it, but it's a small woman's head with two arms attached where the ears should be and a leg poking out where the neck should be. He seems to be dealing in some kind of strange import-export from the Punjab region, and he seems to be constructing something with a bunch of medical equipment and the medical waste body parts that Mr. Randolph was providing for him.
Both of you give me psychology rolls.
I failed. Oh, Jackson.
extreme success.
Jackson, as you're watching him take all this in, one, you realize that the seam of your nylons is not really straight down the back of your leg, and you'd really, really like to fix it, but feel like that might exacerbate the situation. But you do notice on his face a growing look of disgust or irritation. So, I'm sorry. So he takes his notebook and he closes it up. And he takes his file folder and closes it up. This may all be a little game to y'all. Coming dressed up as a woman and trying to get me to believe you're Agnes, or telling me crazy stories about your neighbor. I have got more important things to do right now, and luckily for you that I do. Otherwise, I would list them all again, and I think I could add a fourth one to it. But right now, just get the hell out of my station. And he walks out, leaves the door open, leaves you two sitting there.
Well, that went really well.
So I'm going to grab the file.
He took it all with him.
Oh.
Aw. That went really well. I'm so glad we did that.
Well, if you had done the makeup right, I would at least got a bonus dice for the disguise roll.
Oh. See, I was going to send him to Lucy out in...
So in my head, I'm just picturing... this is probably too much of a throwback for most of you and probably the viewers too, but I'm picturing a Three Stooges episode where they dress up as women, and it is absolutely obvious
right.
to anybody watching that they are not women. So you are sitting in the
moaning.
interrogation room at the metal table with metal chairs, probably feeling a bit sheepish. The door is open. Officer Thompson, you can hear his hard-soled shoes clacking their way down the alley at a pretty insistent clip.
Okay. I think we need to go stop by and see Rick real quick.
Okay.
Because that close of a run-in with the law is probably going to pertain to him to some degree, and I'd like for him to know about it a little sooner than later.
We're not working for him in this one.
Yeah, but, kind of made it out like we were. So...
You didn't drop his name.
Where would you like to go?
We can go see Rick. We probably need to talk to him, but I don't think you've done him any harm.
Yet. Alright, well, we're going to drive over to go see if Rick's in his office.
Okay. So it's getting towards the end of the business day, but yeah, Rick's in.
Knock on the door. Hey, Rick?
There's some shuffling around. Cabinets being open.
Do we have to walk through the Chinese restaurant to get to his door, or does he have an outside door?
Luckily for you, it's an outside door. Because walking through the Chinese restaurant in your dress would just feel a little awkward.
A little strange.
So, like, finally the door opens. Hey, kid, come in. What you doing?
Please get the hat.
Hey, kid.
Hey, can we come in?
Yeah, come on in. I just sent Marjorie home.
Yeah. Give her our best.
By the way, you notice that's like the third different name he's given you for his receptionist.
Yeah, give Marjorie our best. So we have a little bit of a problem. And I kind of explained to him like what happened at the hospital and talking my way out for a short time and then it coming back to bite me in the ass, and then Jackson over here making it like an infected ass wound because he had to do drag and just all of this stuff, and that, we didn't want, one, if anything ever got back to him, for him to be, blindsided, but two, we really don't know where to go from here other than, to drop it at this point, because it's like, we're getting really dangerously close to being arrested.
Well, kid, I gotta tell you, I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed in Arkham's finest. They ought to know that as long as you're working for me, I'm the only one that's got to have a license. So here, just carry my cards with you. Next time, just tell them that, you're in the employ of a private investigator. Yeah, I think they were just trying to go intimidate you. But hey, I'm proud of the work you guys are doing. It's shows some ingenuity, some spunk. I probably would have gone with a wig there, Jackson. The buzz cut cowboy look just didn't really work with that dress there.
That's true. I would not have had a wig. Just gone in.
You might have.
Nope.
But, another thing I find if you're really trying to go deep undercover investigation, with disguise, talk less, smile more.
Blood just trickling from his little beauty mark.
All right, kid. So it sounds like you got your hands full. This is quite a weird. I'm assuming you went through the whole spiel. There's this weird woman with 8 arms for ears and a leg for a torso, and it escaped. And sounds. Well, all right. So. When you called me about this a couple of days ago, I said, find out all you can about them and find out what they do. So read up on them and follow them. So how's that been going?
We've read up on him. Following him, we followed him one day, but he really just goes to work and home. On Wednesdays, he gets home from work late, so we haven't had a chance to figure out what that is.
Well, that's something I'd look into there, right? Probably, where the stranger goings-on are happening. Nobody can tell you what he does on those Wednesday nights. Where did you get this information from anyway, kid? This is all really interesting.
His next-door neighbor.
There's always one of those.
Yeah.
Miss, I see everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
In his heart.
They're a pain in the ass to deal with, but they're an investigator's best friend.
Right.
What about the house? So, Jackson, you got inside the house?
We did.
Right.
In the basement, there is a big room that he was keeping the cat in. And then there's a refrigerated drawer in a desk in a smaller room. And then there's something that I think is another room, but I couldn't figure out how to get into it. But it had a hellacious smell.
Right, well, there's something there, all right. So here's what I know about, this guy was, he was like, did I read he was a medical student or something and quit pursuing that as a career, and now you're talking about this weird skittering lady thing with the surgically attached body parts to it, and scalpels and surgical tools in his basement, and a refrigerated box with what looked like body parts. Here's what I know about guys like that. They always keep notes.
That's a good point. You never made it up to the upper areas of the house.
Sounds like your typical, textbook mad scientist scenario here, run into it all the time. And those fuckers, they write shit down. Find his notes. See what he does on Wednesday nights. Might move you closer to your goal. But hey, kid, I gotta go. Got a big steak out tonight.
Okay.
Ribeye.
Are you getting it from a bush? It's never mind. It's been a long day.
It's going to Wally's Roadhouse. Selling a 16-ounce ribeye and a beer. $3.
Sounds like a hell of a deal.
Say, kid, can I borrow $2?
Yeah. All right, Rick. Well, I appreciate you letting us stop by. I kind of just needed to get an extra set of eyes on this.
Yeah, and don't let the cops push you around on that whole private investigator thing. Anytime you want to say you're working for me, you're working for me. I'll back you up on the call.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. So we'll head on out and let you get to your stakeout. And we'll drive home. So I guess tomorrow, while he's in his standard work day, we need to investigate his house more. And then when it's getting close to time where he would normally be getting off and heading home but doesn't, we need to go follow him and see where he's going.
Well, the main problem with that, and the reason why we didn't do it last time, was because the doors were locked. We can get into the basement again, but Pretty sure the door to the basement locked.
Well, we can give it a shot tomorrow and see if we can find another way in. Maybe we'll get lucky. Worst comes to worst, we'll follow them and see what we can do there.
All right.
All right, you guys get back to the house. It's probably close to 5 o'clock. And after a few minutes, you see Mr. Corbitt arrive right on schedule. He gets out, not carrying any packages. He's got his little work satchel with him. He walks in the house, closes the door. And you can see through a split in the curtains that he goes into his front room, just to the left of the front door. Sits down at a desk that he's got there.
So
things get real boring after that.
I know, like, central heating and air would not have been much of a thing. I'm getting somewhere.
Okay.
So a lot of times they would open windows to use more ambient air. So does he, when he gets home, like, open any windows to kind of aerate his house since it's probably a nice evening?
It's spring, right? Maybe the beginning of May by this time, so yeah, let's say that's how you saw him sitting at his little desk. The windows are open and a slight spring breeze flutters the curtains a little bit, and you can see him every now and then, based on when the curtains flutter, see him sitting at his desk.
Okay. Why don't we tamper with the lock mechanism of the window that's open so that it can't lock? It's open. If we can distract him away from that room long enough, we could tamper with the lock so it can't lock. And that way tomorrow there'd be a way in. What do you think? Trying to see what kind of skills I have that might...
Mechanical repair.
have a 10. Yeah, but to be fair, I'm not trying to repair it. I'm trying to break it. It feels easy to break something. I feel like failure there is the correct option.
Yeah, but he would probably realize that somebody had been doing something and do something like board it up.
I was just trying to think of some kind of option. Do you have another option?
No.
Okay. Well, then I guess we will just turn in for the night and wait for tomorrow.
Okay. Cock-a-freaking-do.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
It is the next morning, Wednesday morning. Going about your morning routine. You see Billy Bob, the paper boy, ride by. There's a little yapper dog chasing behind him, and you hear the thump of the newspaper on your front stoop, and making your coffee. Get the paper. Nothing on the front page. If you searched hard enough, you'd probably find buried somewhere in the back a notice of a death at the hospital, real vague, basically just a name and
right
under investigation, but he was a nobody.
Okay. So, Mr. Corbitt's left for work? Or no?
Yes. You see him leave for work. About 5 minutes to 8.
So how do you want to do this?
I think we should follow him today.
Okay. Do you want to follow him all day? Like, do you want to go... Okay.
Just go up there like an hour before he normally would come home.
Okay, so what are you guys going to do between now at 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock?
I'll shave my legs.
there anything that you want to do? No? So we're not going to try to get into his house?
We could break a window. I've tried to pick the lock. It didn't work.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can just wait till it's maybe an hour before he's supposed to get off and drive down there and stake out the building and see where he goes after work. If John doesn't think we can get in, then...
I've already missed my rolls.
Okay. I'm agreeing with you. We can go down there and just take him out for the last hour of his shift and follow him after that.
Okay.
All right, day passes pretty uneventfully. For about an hour, you see Bobby riding down the other side and tosses newspapers on some stoops and not on others. Very quiet day in the neighborhood. 4 o'clock comes around and you guys head to the warehouse.
Yeah.
You see his car sitting out front. And after a little bit, right at 5 o'clock, you see him come out with his little leather satchel, toss it in the passenger side of his vehicle, gets in the vehicle, and he pulls out and starts driving away from work, but in the opposite direction of home.
Okay.
Gonna try to follow him.
Okay. Give me a stealth check. Okay, so you're staying a little ways back and following him, and you see his vehicle leave Arkham and head out into the countryside a little bit, maybe a couple of miles, and pulls into the Arkham City dump. He drives back in, around big piles of junk and trash and stuff. So he's moved around a little out of your sight. So how do y'all want to approach this?
You want to corner him here?
We can.
That way, if we have to kill him, we just stash the body and move on.
Just kill him. We're just going to kill him. That's how we end the arc. Or we can watch him and see what he's doing.
Gonna try to get in position to watch him.
All right. So gonna leave the car and walk around, or are you pulling the car up there?
I don't think we're going to be able to hide the car.
So in the car.
Huh?
We're not going to be able... we're not going to be able to drive around in the car and not be seen.
You said hide the car.
I meant as we're driving, we're not going to be able to, stealthily drive around.
All right, so you guys are going to leave the car at the front
Yes.
gate of the thing, and on foot you're going to take the path that his car went up and try to stealthily go up there so you can see what he's doing.
Yes.
Okay, give me stealth rolls.
Failure.
Guys,
Failures.
you want to spend a point of luck to make yours good? No? All right, so...
I don't want him to just see her.
So you guys, the little roadway, pathway through here, it kind of winds in between different piles of stuff. Anyway, so you walk along there, and as you round a corner, you see his car, the driver's side door open, and you see him just frantically looking through one of the piles of trash. And As you approach, you can hear him kind of muttering to himself, "Where is it? Where is it? I can't find where it's not here. Damn him!" As you get a little bit closer, you kick a bottle or something, and he looks up and says, "What are you doing here?" Both of y'all give me spot hidden.
Shit. Wait, did it do mine? No. Is it gonna do my roll or? Okay, there it goes. It was the first one, 62.
Okay.
Or sorry, 18 hard success.
Yeah. So, as he turns around and talks to you, and you guys are probably 10, 15 yards away from him, you notice that the particular pile of rubbish that he is floating through, it's this huge pile of rubbish, but the area where he is looking, there are these to make it easy, you see that some of the bags of trash have imprinted on them Sisters of Mercy Hospital, Arkham, Massachusetts. Gotcha. So it appears that all of the refuse in the area that he's looking at is hospital trash.
Right.
Well, what are y'all doing here, Miss Green? I'm surprised to see you.
We come down here every so often looking for antiques that get thrown away haphazardly. I didn't really expect to see anybody else out here. What are you doing out here?
Oh, well, I occasionally come down here looking for certain spores or mushrooms that grow here as part of, my botany hobby. Often find the most interesting specimens. I like to take them back to my greenhouse, see if I can determine what properties they might have, or maybe even recreate the growth of them in my greenhouse. It's just really all very academically interesting, and one must get his hands dirty for science.
Oh, certainly, that sounds wonderful. Jackson here is quite outdoorsy. Maybe we can help you find, but be careful. That's medical waste, there, Mr. Corbitt.
Oh well, oh my, is it? Oh well, I'm sure that the really disgusting stuff is incinerated or something. This is no worse than household garbage, but no, I've noticed that I'm not finding anything here. I really think we've had too much good weather here lately. Not enough moisture and overcast for a good sprout of mushrooms. So just thought I'd make a quick look, but I really must be getting.
Okay. You didn't happen to see any
towards his car door.
You didn't happen to see any antiques while you were looking, did you?
No, but I'm sure you'll find some around here. And if you should find any mushrooms,
click.
He closes his door.
Okay.
And drives off. If you want to give me a psychology roll.
Failure at a 13. I'm going to use 3 luck points to make that a success.
Okay. So you could tell by his face and maybe even a little nervous flipping of his wrist or something that the whole mushroom thing was a lie. But beyond that, just something more than embarrassment at being found digging through trash.
Right.
Is there maybe worry, agitation, angst, something like that?
Okay. So we'll pretend to be looking through for antiques while he drives off. I'm guessing that Randolph would throw away his packages and he would come here after trash day and get them.
I have another idea. This one's better.
Does it involve a dress?
No.
Okay.
So we write a letter as Randolph telling him that he got found out and he's going to have to make the delivery to his home and to leave a key outside somewhere under a rock, wherever. Maybe he'll leave us a key.
Did Billy Bob drop off a paper at Mr. Corbitt's house?
He tossed one up onto the stoop.
We should have grabbed that before we left. It's got the little blurb. He may not know that it's Randolph, but I don't...
We could race him back home.
Drive auto.
All right. By the time you get back to your car, he's got about a 3-minute head start on you.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So I'm going to need... You're going to try to...
Drive fast.
Drive fast. Are you going to try to drive fast on a route that would be different than his likely route? Or are you okay with blasting past him? Presumably, he's going to take the most direct route.
I'm okay with blasting past him.
Then give me a drive auto roll.
I used 12 on that.
Okay. So you put the pedal to the metal and you get probably before you even get back into Arkham proper, the north side of Arkham, you can see his car up ahead of you, and you get into the city streets, still on the north side, heading towards the bridge that goes over the river and through the woods.
That's exactly what my brain said.
Goes over the river into the neighborhood that y'all live in, and you're able to overtake his car and make it to the bridge first. And you can tell that you're going to beat him there, but under current circumstances, maybe by 30 or 40 seconds.
What kind of tires would be on this car? It's not the wooden tired cars anymore, is it?
No, but they're thin wall. They're more akin to bicycle tires than...
Yeah, big, fat bicycle tire looking things. You gonna do the old throw some tacks on the road behind you?
I was thinking more of pretend to go out of control into his yard and do some donuts on the newspaper.
Right up on the sidewalk.
But I don't think that would work with bicycle tires.
Yeah, so your choices are drive faster to get a little more time, or try to create some kind of diversion for him to slow him down, or get there about 30 or 40 seconds before him and see if you can get the paper before he turns the corner onto the street and can see you.
What you think?
I think we might ought to just figure out a different way.
Well, like you said, we can look at our paper again. I don't know that you said it mentioned Randolph's name or anything like that. It was just a small blurb, so he may not even know.
All right, you guys pull up in front of your house. In your rearview mirror, you haven't seen
Mr. Corbitt.
thank you, Mr. Corbitt. In fact, the 30 or 40 seconds you figure you're going to beat him by, pass, and you still don't see his car.
Damn, there was more following to be done.
You feel like you have an opportunity to get the paper. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go grab the paper.
Okay. You grab the paper, you guys get inside, and probably about 10 minutes later, you see his car pull up. And he gets out. He grabs his satchel. And he grabs a large parcel of stuff wrapped in white butcher paper. And give me a spot hit.
Spotted. A failure.
I got a success.
Okay. You notice that you can't really read the words, but there's a distinctive color to like the tape that is being used to hold the butcher paper closed over some of these parcels. You've lived here in Arkham for 6 months or so now, and you recognize the distinctive color of the tape. If you're closer, you could probably read words on the tape that says Polini Brothers Butcher.
Right.
So he's got what looks to be several large packets of meat. He walks in the house. As he gets into his door, he stoops down to grab his paper and realizes it's not there. Does a quick look on the porch and looks over the edge of the porch, see if it's like in the bushes. I should give him a luck roll for a bush steak.
A bush steak.
There's a newspaper.
Why the hell are there steaks everywhere?
And then he goes inside. And like last night, evening time, you see the front window of his front room open to let some air in. And you probably can even see him doing the same to the side window of that room. So there's some flow of air through there. At some point, you see him leave that front room and go back towards the back, where you assume the kitchen to be. You would know you'd looked in the window and seen the kitchen before when you couldn't pick the lock on the back door. So.
Okay.
Have we seen him come in with butcher stuff before?
It's the first week we watched him.
No, but it seems like more. All right, so this is the first week you watch him, right? So maybe he's got a routine of what he does on a weekly basis. This seemed like more than one man's worth of meat.
Right.
For a week.
Why don't we go ask the Polini brothers what he got?
So, Alice and Jackson followed and confronted. If by confronted, you would accept we stumbled over a bottle and he knew we were there when we were trying to sneakily watch him. Mr. Corbitt, who was digging around through some trash in an area that was mostly populated.
Strewn?
Strewn, that is a really good word. Strewn with hospital trash. And you recognize some of the hospital emblems on things that were thrown out or whatever. Right. And he came up with a semi-plausible story about he was looking for fungus or molds as part of his interest in botany, which is absolutely true. But he suspected there was a little bit more to it. He seemed a little uneased by the fact that you had found him there. Raced him back to his house because you wanted to get the newspaper off of his front step so he wouldn't read about the death of Tom Mazuski in case you wanted to try to hornswoggle him some way in that regard. And not only did you beat him by 30 or 40 seconds, you beat him by about 10 minutes and found out that he must have made a stop at the Polini Brothers butcher shop and walked in with a lot of butcher paper wrapped meat into the house. The evening is starting to wind down. Street lights are starting to come on. You can see the light on in his house. And give me listen rolls.
Listen. I failed epically. Epic fail.
Did you?
Yeah, 94.
That's what I'm saying.
Failure. Failure, but only by 4 points.
I'll spend 4.
Okay. So here, sitting in the front parlor of the house, your house, talking, probably trying to make sense of it all, figuring out what your next moves are, but occasionally looking out the window across the street. The curtains drawn on Mr. Corbitt's front room, but you can see the lights on in there, and occasionally the breeze will ruffle the curtains, and you can see him sitting in there. And as the night goes on, Jackson, you hear that moaning sound again coming from the basement of Mr. Corbitt's house, with that little thread of childlike crying woven into the deep moaning sound. And you catch a glimpse of Mr. Corbitt get up from his seat and go back towards his kitchen. After a little while, at the front of his house, on the bottom, the where the window basements are, right? The basement window that you went in is now got a piece of plywood over it, secured that window. There's a window on the other side, and you see some light come from that window, and it looks like it's not like the light in that room has been turned on, but a light further back in the basement has been turned on, and the light is just kind of filtering through that room. But that's what you see. And after a minute or so, you hear the moaning sound stop. And then the light in the basement goes out. And you can, after a couple minutes, well, who knows what's going on, you see Mr. Corbitt come back into his room, sit down at his desk, and reach up and pull a book off a shelf, flip it open, and start writing something.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to do tonight? No?
Mm-mm.
So we will wait for him to leave in the morning and then try to make our daring break into his home.
Okay, so morning comes. Mr. Corbitt leaves for work. Billy Bob's making his rounds with the newspapers. Quiet morning on whatever the name is. What's the name of your street there?
Hornaby Way.
Quiet morning on Hornaby Way.
I don't know where that came from. I really don't, but that's what came first. So I would like to know if maybe at my my job, my museum that I work at, if maybe there is something of historical value from the time era that Mrs. Hart is so fond of. Like maybe there's an exhibit of something that came from early in her childhood My goal is to maybe like go drop it and like say, hey, today's the last day of the exhibit. I think they're going to be pulling it. You might want to, go see it and get her out of the house so she's not peeping.
Okay. Give me a luck roll.
Success.
All right. So, having been in her house and seen all the doilies and her being really impressed with the doily press that you brought over, you also saw a lot of knickknacks or whatnot that seemed to be naval in nature, like a ship in a bottle and paintings of, folks on a whaler boat doing big things or whatever, and a prominently displayed copy of Moby Dick. And from your idle conversations with her, you knew that her husband was a maritime type guy, and some of the stuff was his, and she has a big interest. She's kept it all over these years, and there happens to be an exhibit of 18th century, which would have been 1700s, whaling equipment and artifacts and whatever, and you can use that. And she is delighted at the prospects, can't believe she didn't read it in the paper, and it's probably that Billy Bob's, because she suspects that he sometimes removes the certain pages of her newspaper that have coupons for good toy stores or whatever, and that's probably where it was. And I can't believe it. While she's saying all this, she's running around grabbing her hat and coat and calling for
Rachel,
Becky,
Rebecca,
calling for Rebecca to take her to the museum right now. And sure enough, your ploy works, and off she goes to see 17th century whaling equipment.
That's why she likes doilies so much. They remind her of fishing nets.
I like that.
Yeah.
So the neighborhood busybody has been taken care of.
Yeah.
The neighbor on the other side is kind of a recluse, doesn't come out a lot, always keeps his curtains drawn.
It's almost like he doesn't exist.
Almost like there's nobody there to worry about at all.
At all. All right. So do you want to head over there and see if we can't check the doors and windows for anything? Okay. So we're going to head over.
So you start heading over there, and you're just about to, leave the sidewalk and start heading directly in towards Mr. Corbitt's house when you hear the ching-ching of Billy Bob's bike bell. Mm-hmm. As he's coming, you noticed the other day that it takes about an hour for him to get around to that side of the street. But there he comes, and so you wait a little while, and he's like, "Hi, Miss Green." And the dog goes yapping after him, and he throws a paper up on Corbitt's door, and he throws a paper up on Miss Busybody's door, and heads on down the way. But coast is clear. You guys can head into Corbitt's property with a reasonable expectation that nobody will notice what you're doing.
Okay. Can you throw a newspaper hard enough to break a window?
I mean, conceivably, you could throw anything hard enough to break a window if you threw it hard enough. Question here is...
Besides the ethical dilemma of framing an 11-year-old kid.
That's what I was about to say. Could Billy Bob throw a newspaper through a window?
Who knows? But there is a strong affection between Billy Bob and Mr. Corbitt, because Mr. Corbitt saved Billy Bob's life several years ago.
Right.
Billy Bob thinks highly of Mr. Corbitt, and Mr. Corbitt is almost like a doting grandfather to Billy Bob. So you suspect that if Billy Bob was strong enough and did throw one and broke a window, that the consequences would be minor at best.
So we go find a baseball, and some roving kids threw a baseball through his window.
Let's try to pick the lock first, and then we can...
Just say. All right, so we'll start checking the windows and doors to see what is locked.
First thing you notice is that all of the basement windows are extremely secure, right? The one that got cracked is boarded up now, but the other ones you would swear like from the inside they had been nailed or screwed to the closed position. But it doesn't appear like anything like that is true of the upper windows. So I'll do this. If either one of you can succeed on a hard luck roll, then Mr. Corbitt missed locking one of the windows on the first floor.
Okay.
Or, like through the latch, but it didn't catch
Right.
all the way. You didn't toss it all the way. But it'd be a hard success I'll be needing.
Great day to have spent 15 luck points.
That's
There's
regular.
a success, and it only takes 5.
Extreme success.
Extreme success. So, as you head towards the back of the house, the window by the kitchen, which is the back left-hand side of the house, like kind of the room right behind the front room where you've seen him, the kitchen window, you can see kitchen-y stuff on the windowsill. And by stepping up on the trash can right there, and you give the window a little nudge, and you're shocked and surprised when it moves freely up and the window is unlocked. You also happen to notice as you stepped on the trash can that in the trash can were huge wads of
Butcher paper. Okay.
With a little piece of blue tape on one of them that says Bellini Brothers Butchery.
All right, so we'll crawl inside to the kitchen.
Help me remember Bellini Brothers, because
Bellini
that
Brothers.
is now a
Canon store.
canonical location.
You need to just start making it funny like meat slangers.
Meat slingers. Wow, that is
Sausage party butchery.
wow. Okay, so we will head into the kitchen through the window.
Somebody else climb rules like. I'm kidding. I don't need a climb roll. Usually, because I know you got nothing in climb. We went through this in
I actually have a little bit in it.
Blackwater Creek.
little
It
bit.
was a terrible climbing episode. So you guys are able to get in to the kitchen. The window is like right over the sink area. Maybe there's a little potted plant, a little vase here or there. Give me luck rolls as you guys come in to ensure you don't knock anything off that could be breakable. You ever tried to crawl in a kitchen window? It seems
Yes.
like there's a bunch of shit there.
Right, extreme success.
And a failure. You want to spend 12 luck points on that? Okay. So,
If I hadn't spent 15 earlier, I would have made that one.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Your luck has been going down. Yeah, so small little like bud vase had a small orange flower. You think you've seen something like this out in his greenhouse. So like you taken a little cutting of a bloom off of one of the flowers in the greenhouse and put it in there. But it falls to the floor and breaks.
Can I look pretty closely at it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, now that I can see its roots and all that, could I do a wilderness or a natural world?
So you won't be able to see its roots, right? So imagine that there's this plant and a flower had bloomed on a
Like
stem.
when Gemma
and
brings us flowers.
he cut it off and stuck it into. I think what you can do, a natural world roll.
Full disclosure, I do think I already did this in the greenhouse, thinking back on it.
I think you did.
So, hey, Alice, look at this thing here. Because she wasn't with me. I know she didn't fail a roll on it.
Okay. I can make a natural world roll. Hard success.
Okay.
I know my flowers, bitch.
At least you know this one.
Look, man. You fell through a kitchen window.
Yeah, so you look at this thing, and this is your first time seeing it. And you're by no means an expert, but, you know, being involved in society gatherings and whatnot, you are absolutely certain that you have never seen or heard of a plant like this ever anywhere. And you've been to botanical gardens here and there or whatever, and it is completely alien to you.
Jackson, that's not a known flower to my knowledge, and I'm very considerably well versed in flowers for someone who's not actively pursuing them. But I'm telling you, nowhere near us has that thing naturally grown.
Are there paper towels or something similar in the area?
Sure.
I'm gonna grab one, pick up the flower, and lay it by the front door. Remember to take it with us.
Okay, so on the inside.
Yeah.
Like how you put your keys by the front door. I was like, what?
The door. Is it a bolt or is it a lock that you could lock and then shut?
Yeah, simple knob.
So I'm going to put it by the front door so that when we leave, I'll remember to take it with us.
Okay.
I'm going to shut the window.
The kitchen window.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think I would like to head to the living room and try to look at whatever book you've been writing in.
Okay, so the front room, which most people use as a living room, you walk in there and you can tell it's adorned more like a study. It's got like a big, easy chair, high back, lots of stuffing, sitting next to it like a little table where it looks like it might sit to do some reading, and then a desk and a set of shelves over the desk. But it looks more like a gentleman's study.
Right. Probably smells of cigars. Gotcha.
So, so above the desk is a single shelf of books. There are 4 pretty interesting books up there. They've got covers that are more ornate and than your normal like library book, right? And one of them you can tell is a copy of the Quran.
Uh-huh.
There is a copy of a book called 20 Experiments in the Occult by Dr. Arthur Turnley. There is a very worn copy of True Magic, and magic is spelled with a K at the end, C-I-C-K, by Theophilus Wynne, and a large, crudely fashioned book bound in cobra skin.
Ooh.
I'd like to read that one, please.
So the writing on it is in a foreign language. So
You want to know what languages we speak?
yeah.
I speak my own language.
I also speak the Odish language.
I don't think either one of us took any other languages.
Yeah,
And I think I have a 55 in that.
yeah. So the title on the spine and the cover of this cover skin book is written in a language you don't understand, and it looks almost. I don't want to say that because I may be wrong. Let's just say it's foreign to you.
Gotcha.
So you can't tell what the title of the book is, and you open it up, you can't decipher any of the words. And
Is it raised?
the lettering,
embossed on the cover of the book.
Sure.
I'm gonna make an etching of the spine and the cover.
Sure. So it's easy enough to find a piece of paper and a pencil on his desk, and you lay it over there, and then you kind of shade it over in the embossed letters, symbols, whatever they are. Yeah, you've got a little representation of that.
Cool.
In addition, there are 14 leather-bound journals on this shelf, and they're dating. Each one of them has like a year date on it, and they date back to the time of about the time of his father's death,
Right.
all the way up to the present. And they are what I like to do.
I want to pick up the first year.
I'll pick up the second year.
You guys want to find 12 friends and we'll have
Yes,
this covered?
we'll read it all simultaneously.
Should we start at opposite ends and go toward one another?
No, I want to know what happened first. So that makes sense when you get
I'll
to the
pick up the last year.
Okay.
Jerk.
We'll come to you last. So, look, spend 20 or 30 minutes and you can figure out that this is your yearly journal. Flipping through all of them, you really only find items of interest in the first couple and maybe the last couple.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to show us a handout.
Right there.
Yep.
Yep. So this was from September 10th, 14 years ago. So you want to...
I will. I was letting John get that switched over to the main thing here. Okay. So September 10th. Another embarrassing memory lapse today. This journal should help me deal with the problem. September 13th. I had a mother sign the last of the legal papers that transfer ownership of Corbitt Importers of America from her to myself. She seems to be doing well in the new nursing home, and I hope that they can give her the treatment and attention she needs. I'm afraid her condition continues to decline rapidly. The death of father seems to have unhinged her mind. If she knew my role in his death, although I don't in the least feel responsible, I'm sure it would kill her. She would never understand the power of my new lord Ramasikva. She could have, but experienced those moments on the mountain when he appeared in all of his terrible magnificence. He spoke with me and left his mark upon my breast. Then he took hold of my father, and the two became one with each other. Before devouring him, Ramasikva tore my father's head from his shoulders. October 29th. Have met a charming young woman at a social gathering. Her name is Lynn Myers. I've arranged to take her to the pictures next week. My lord, I think, would approve of her. December 12th. Spent 30 hours in ceremony. Have located Ramasikva. He wants a bridge to the world and needs my help. I have agreed. My studies have shown that Ramasikva is an obscure Asura, an East Indian demon. The Asura are said to be older gods, the ones who ruled before the coming of Shiva. Certain things spoken of in Wen's book lead me to believe that there may be a link to a being called Yog-Sothoth. Yog-Sothoth. Yes. Okay. So, dude met a god. That's scary.
Okay, and in the second journal, which is presumably is 13 years ago.
January 10th, I found myself wanting to make Lynn my wife and have sealed the thought by proposing to her. She accepted, and we have set the date of marriage for March 9th of this year. Ramasikva assures me the time is right. March 13th. Having returned from our honeymoon, Lynn and I have decided to keep the family place as it is excellent for raising children. In May, all being well, Lynn will accompany me on my trip to Ceylon for a new herbal tea supply. This may be my last trip out of the country for a while. A man who plans a family must be willing to settle down a bit. April 1st. I had to send Lynn to visit her mother while I cast the ceremony. I don't believe she is ready to understand yet. Ramasikva has told me he wants a union of flesh. He demands the union be made with my wife. I am to await 13 days, cast another, easier ceremony, then wait. Ramasikva is to inhabit my body. April 14th. Cast a ceremony in the morning, and Ramasikva came. He visited Lynn for several hours. She seemed to suspect nothing.
I like the 1920s sensibility. I visited my wife.
For several hours.
Oh, boy.
Good on you, mate. July 19th. I have told my wife to remain in bed throughout the day as she is taken ill from her pregnancy. I took the day to contact Ramasikva. I am to deliver the child myself at home. My master has directed me to raise a child as if it were my own. November 21st. Horror of horrors, my life is ashes. Poor Lynn went into labor today, and the course of giving birth to the child, she expired, despite all I did to save her. Nurse Dunlap blundered into the room at the wrong moment, and when she saw the child, took leave of her senses. I'm trying to take care of her, and in trying to take care of her, I may have neglected Lynn at a critical moment. At any rate, she's gone, and I blame only myself. A second child, a boy, was born dead, and I have turned both bodies over to the funeral home. The child of Ramasikva I have hidden in the basement. The thing is limbless and appears to have trouble breathing. I don't think it can live for long. November 25th. The funeral of Lynn and the child was held. Her parents were heartbroken and felt pity for me. I later consoled them and promised to stay in touch. November 26th, the ceremony of Ramasikva brought him forth to explain the child. He said the thing would live and that I am to spend the next 10 years preparing for a time when it would need me. When the time comes, I am to equip it for life on earth. It will be given limbs and lungs. I am not to contact Ramasikva until 10 years and a day have elapsed. December 14th. I have found someone to help me, a man named Randolph Tomaszewski. He works at a local hospital and assures me that he can supply me with the parts necessary to the experiments I need to conduct over the next few years. He's an unsavory type, but I need his help. I have agreed to supply him with a small amount of the drugs he desires, and he, in return, will try to fill my needs. Perhaps through the association with myself, he will find a way to better himself. He seems a particularly irreligious and bitter man. Next week I will make my first trip to the dump and see what my confederate has been able to find for me. The experiments should prove a challenge, but I have every confidence that I can learn, especially with my Lord Ramasikva's guidance.
Okay, the subsequent journals, day-to-day kind of stuff, probably indicated a few trips to the Far East, but nothing really to know until you get to year 13, which is last year. Or the 13th journal, which is last year.
November 25th. The child grows large and the time has come. Entered the ceremony with Ramasikva. He told me that when spring has arrived, I am to search out fresh limbs and organs to be added to the creature. The time of experimenting is over. As the thing is still a child, I will only use the limbs and organs of children. My experiments show that the more youthful parts adapt much better than the older ones. Any parts that are unusable, I am directed to feed to the child. Ramasikva wants it to develop a taste for such things and says that it is now the time for growing. Gross.
And this year's journal.
All right, March 19th. Tomaszewski says I'm asking too much of him and claims that he is having difficulty supplying me with parts. The needs of the child increase all the time, and I have boosted again the strength of the drug I gave him, hoping that it will entice him to be more cooperative. I fear, however, that the drug simply exacerbates his derangement. I must admit to feeling guilty. Aiding and abetting his false beliefs somehow seems wrong. However, to try and tell him the truth would, I'm afraid, serve only to further unhinge his mind. I will continue the pretense of believing in his master. I value the services of Tomaszewski, renders too much to risk further damage on his grasp of reality. Most of the child's organs are now in place and a few limbs have been attached. The grafts heal nicely. My years of experimenting are paying off. March 28th. I swear the child is growing ever more quickly. Unfortunately, this means I must have further dealings with Tomaszewski. However, the child's progress is a wonderful thing to behold, although it definitely needs more limbs as its size increases. April 8th. Back to the rubbish dump again. The child's rate of development is, if anything, even more prodigious than before. I wonder how much longer we will need to sustain his growing hunger and need for further augmentation. April 11th. Another growth spurt requiring yet more surgery and sustenance for the child. Its attempts to walk afterwards truly put one in a mind of determined, if somewhat clumsy toddler. April 19th. It cannot be long now. At least, I hope it won't be. I love the child as if it were my own and have no doubt our Lord Ramasikva will be pleased with his son. But I fear how much longer I can continue to convince our supplier to cooperate. There is only so much I can do to increase the narcotic properties of his favored method of mind expansion before it becomes toxic, and I still have need of his services, however odious they and he may be. May 14th. Another day, another visit to our friend for more supplies. I am, I believe, justifiably proud of my work on the child, and I don't doubt his father will be too when the time comes. May 25th. Tomaszewski is growing fractious again and demands ever more compensation for his efforts. I look forward to the day I no longer have to pander to his misbeliefs, though, to be fair, he has never failed to provide for us when asked. I also fear that my trips to the dump may draw attention before too long. Still, the child is positively thriving and is a magnificent thing to behold.
Okay, and then you see one last entry dated last night. Wherein he says, I knew that Tomaszewski would, falter one day. Searched quite heavily at the dump, but his delivery was not there. Ran into a neighbor searching for antiques, but I think I've, assuaged her concerns about why I was there. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada.
Color me assuaged.
So.
Gross.
The holy shit moment comes now.
So we were right in some spots and wrong in others.
Should have killed his ass at the dump and been done with it.
Yeah. Not gonna wholly disagree with you on that. But the point still remains that he's either actually in contact with a god named Ramasikva who is trying to bring some ungodly amalgamation into the world, or he is batshit crazy. But given what we've seen, both here and in other places, I find it hard to believe that he's that crazy.
Can I roll a no-check psychology? Like, if I pass it, I don't check it? I think it's already checked anyway, but I just want to see if Jackson believes that he believes he's actually...
You are Jackson. You just decide if he believes it.
Sure, I'll allow.
Just tell him you want to make a roll.
You didn't come up for me either. John broke the dice. Because of such an extreme success, it broke roll 20. That's what it has to be, right?
It's gotta be.
It's gotta be. There's no other explanation. There we go. It was a failure. The other two were extreme successes.
Okay.
Oh, yours did pop up eventually.
So he definitely thinks.
Yeah, your first one was a hard success.
He definitely thinks he was in contact with a guy.
Oh, that's right. He did make a success. All right. Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me anything.
Well, last time and the time before when we played, you did Mythos or an occult roll. And that's where you made the connection between Ramasikva and Yog-Sothoth. So you don't know whether he's crazy or not, right? You're just reading his words, so you're not getting to see body language, what kind of craziness in his eyes or whatever. But your understanding of the mythos, Yog-Sothoth, you're pretty good in occult, that those mythos creatures making an actual appearance on Earth is conceivable, and inhabiting other bodies is conceivable. If you didn't know anything about the mythos or occult or been through the shit you guys have already had, you'd be looking at it, what a nutter. Shit. But you've been through some of that stuff, and you've got your notebook from your father, and you're like, this is all potentially doable.
Which is awful.
But you don't know if it's a madman just spouting off things that could be possible, because apparently a lot of shit is fucking possible that you wouldn't have thought possible a year ago.
Jackson thinks 100% that he believes it.
Yep.
And it does jive with what...
Yeah.
So, the way I look at it, we got two choices here. We can either take this stuff up to the feds, because there's written basic confessions here of certain things. They can piece it together with Randolph and the cat and do whatever they do, or we can try to stop it ourselves.
Well, at the risk of sounding too much like you, I think we go down to the basement and we put an end to whatever horrific thing he has been making down there.
Well, a word of caution. The feds apparently picked up a rabid cat.
Mm-hmm.
That may or may not have been a cat.
Yeah, it was probably
I don't
the thing.
think he could have gotten it back, so there may be something new down there.
Well, I think he was experimenting, and that was probably like his experiment, but he's still finding body parts for whatever's making the noise down there.
I'm just letting you know, it might be something you don't really want to see.
Yeah, I get that. Let's just blow up the whole house then. Gas leak. We should maybe check out the other rooms of the house while we are having access.
Okay.
So every other room on this floor has nothing spectacular about it, right? There's the kitchen, there's dining room, there's storage area, stuff upstairs, master bedroom, another couple bedrooms, all pretty freaking normal, and cursory inspection and investigation of them, just like what you'd find in bedrooms or kitchens or dining rooms.
Okay.
Would any rolls help?
No. He's just keeping us from having to trudge through it. To the basement. Yeah?
You sure?
Well, I mean, let's try not to let anything get out this time, but,
Okay.
Right. So you go down to the basement stairs and
We got a map for that.
So you come down the stairs of the basement. Can you guys see your tokens?
No.
Bottom half of the.
Yeah, I'm on the map, but the tokens are not visible.
So you might have to scroll.
Are they on like the GM layer?
Maybe. Yep.
There we are.
No, I just put you on the map layer.
I am the house.
Before we leave the top room, how big is the book with the cobra skin? Is it big enough to fit in my satchel? Or small enough?
He's working.
Yeah, you can put it in your satchel.
I'm gonna throw it in my satchel.
Just that one? You don't want the other ones?
If they can all fit, I'll take all that I can fit.
You can take them all.
Before Alice goes down the stairs, I'm gonna be like, wait. You know how good we are with handguns? Maybe we should go get the shotgun and the rifle.
So you guys gonna, or at least one of you gonna run across the street and get some firepower?
Yep, and I'm going to drop off the flour and the books.
Yeah, grab my rifle.
And I'll grab the rifle and the shotgun. I'm not seeing it.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so, John, can you go to, do you have the layer thing? I don't know what the deal is. But if I put them on the map layer, you can see them. Let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we just got to use the tokens on the map layer, which means I'll have to move them for you.
That's fine. I don't know what happened to your map. It got super low res for. No reason. Unless it's just it's a lighting thing.
All right, so you come down the stairs. There's a little landing, and you can go door to the left or door to the right. Stand up, sit down, fight.
We're going to go to the left and look in the experimentation room.
Okay, right. So
I've already had a look, so I'm going to kind of hang back, let her check things out, and try to make sure that nothing gets out this time.
Shutting all the doors.
okay, so you're gonna stay on the landing, or
not quite on the landing, but
in front of that doorway.
In front of the doorway.
Okay, so this is exactly what Jackson described to you before. This room looks kind of like evil mad scientist laboratory kind of thing. There are surgical instruments, surgical table. There is a cabinet, and when you open it, there is one section of the cabinet that is refrigerated. You open up that, and you see small body parts being preserved in the refrigeration that look like they could be tendons or nerve endings or something. Not distinguishable body parts. That's a finger, that's a nose, that kind of thing.
Right.
But internally
bits.
Things. Yeah.
Okay. Is the door to the room to the bottom open or closed?
Closed.
I'm gonna listen at the door.
Okay, give me a listen check.
I'll listen. A success.
Okay. You don't think you hear anything from that room, but you do think you hear kind of a shuffling sound to the right. And that would be your left, just looking down there. As we look at it, to the right of that room.
That closet area.
That direction, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go over to the closet. And I'm going to open the door to the closet.
All right, so you open the door to the closet, and you're just hit with this smell. It's like rotted meat, urine, feces, maybe even some sweat, all rolled into one.
Tasty.
Imagine that the plumbing in the boys' locker room had backed up.
Oh,
nasty. And it was Monday morning, and Friday one of the football players left a tuna sandwich.
Oh.
All of those smells.
Nasty.
Yeah.
That's the real horror. Where's the sanity roll for that image? Nothing in this closet?
There's nothing in the closet, but give me a spot hidden roll.
A success.
The back wall of this closet looks a little different than the walls on the sides of this closet and other walls down here in the basement.
Jackson, there seems to be like a false back to this closet.
Let's come back to that. See if you can see. Let's clear everything else out before we open a new door.
Okay.
I think.
So I will go into the room where the original skittering lady was.
Yeah, so it is kind of dusty, cobwebby. You can see in the dust kind of the trails left by this weird skittering thing that Jackson described to you.
Right.
You can see the window that was cracked that is boarded up on the outside is also boarded up on the inside. The other windows are not, but they are indeed nailed shut. But he took particular care to secure that window.
Maybe because the glass was cracked.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll check out the room on the other side of the landing.
Okay. I think it's like a laundry or something.
Like a utility room?
Utility room. Hot water heater, furnace.
Right.
Stuff like that.
I'll move to the other side of the landing to that door.
Okay. But it looks exactly like the purpose. You notice up at the top of the room, like one of those weird, Dorothy, get in from the tornado kind of doors that would lead up and out.
Okay. And then the bottom right-hand room.
Yeah, and again, I think that's laundry or storage, and it looks like everything is just for that purpose. Nothing strange about it at all, and nothing draws your attention. This room is exactly what it is supposed to be.
Okay. And Jackson, there's nothing else down here, so the choices are to either go into that closet or to...
Let's go.
Do you want me to go in first?
I'll go in. What does it look like it's going to take to open it?
So now that you notice, she pointed it out, that it's a little different. You do a quick check of it, and you see up towards the top, down towards the bottom, are two simple little latches that you just throw them, and looks like this thing would swing open.
I should have put more into spot hidden to not see two simple little latches.
You were overcome by the smell.
Okay, I'm just going to undo the latches and...
Pop in.
Okay, so you open it up, and the little bit of light in the rooms that you're in flood into this thing, and you see a large shape on the other side of the room. Like maybe the size of a couple of refrigerators. Big blob. Almost looks like a sack of pus. Semi-translucent skin, and you can see a very rudimentary skeleton in it that kind of pokes at certain parts of the sack. Along the bottom of it, you see and hear this giant sucking sound, and this opening at the bottom is like attaching itself to the floor and sucking, and then unattaching and sucking somewhere else. It appears to be the mouth of this thing is at the bottom of it. Surrounding the bottom, you see about 12 surgically attached toddler limbs that this thing is using to move around a little bit as it's sucking on the floor. Farther up its body, there are like slits on the side of it, and with this wrinkly skin-like stuff covering, and every now and then one of them will flap, and there's this rush of air that comes out from them right around the area where the slits are. Your best guess is 15 small child arms have been sewn to this thing, and they are kind of waving around, not really doing anything. As you go up to the top of it, it tapers to the top to this little like cone-like aperture, but it's flimsy. It kind of falls off to the side, but it is just comes to a point with a little hole, and out of that hole is dripping the foulest brown goo liquid coming out of it, and you see stains of that on the floor, and the sucking sound stops for a minute, and the thing turns at you, not an eyeball on it anywhere, but it turns, and you hear the mouth make a sucking sound, but it's not attached to the floor right now, and then you hear this deep moan, and embedded in that moan is a baby's cry. I need both of you to make sanity checks for me.
Hold on before you do yours.
My jacket saved me.
Both of you take 1 point of sanity loss.
Gross. I thought it was going to scream out.
So the sight of this thing just shakes you to your core, but you two are grizzled veterans of freaking weirdness by this point, and it barely shakes you at all, but your psyche takes a little bit of a hit, and the sucking sounds from this mouth get a little bit louder, and then you see all 12 of those baby foot appendages hit the ground at the same time, and then it skitters quickly right towards you.
Don't say it.
And that's where we'll stop for tonight. We'll pick back up with the face-off with the thing, the child thing in the basement of Mr. Corbitt's house.
The baby booger.
Yeah. So it is by no means square-shaped, right? It is globular.
Baby booger.
But
the fridge wasn't square-shaped. Well, I guess he kind of was, but with a head on top.
Right. So
I don't know what that
but
is.
yeah, so when I said it was the size of 2 fridges, I didn't mean refrigerators. I meant 2 Richard Perry or Michael. What was his name? Perry, right?
It was Perry.
Michael Perry.
I want to say William, but
William, the refrigerator Perry. It was the size of 2 of him put together.
And it smelled like 4 of him.
Yes, right.
Well, he probably smelled a lot better with all that money.
So,
I don't know
you
what they're
have
talking
found
about.
the child creation of Ramasikva and Mr. Corbitt.
Mr. Corbitt's wife.
Well, that's Mr. Corbitt's
He
son.
visited her for several hours.
So that's where we'll pick up next time. Thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Steve. I've been your keeper of arcane lores. We play through Mr. Corbitt from Mansions of Madness. Hey, if you want to check me out on Twitter, I'm at Rick Stevens PI. We will be playing our actual play every Thursdays right here on this Twitch channel, and you can check out our previous episodes by going to Percentile Vice on YouTube. Lots of VOD there. Do you just say VOD or you just say VOD? I'm not hip to the way this.
I don't think anybody calls it either.
Really. They just read it.
People call it VOD.
I've never heard that.
Video on demand.
Nobody calls it that. They just call
What do
it.
they call it?
I don't know.
There's just there's a thing on Tube.
No, that's a YouTube video.
It's a YouTube video. We got them. Go check them out.
Okay, so the kids have, instead of shortening things like they actually do, they're going to call it a YouTube video instead of a VOD.
I'm just saying I've never heard it. You can also check us out on podcast, but if you do that, you won't see me hiding in my jacket from the scary baby thing.
From the scary baby thing.
It's scary, and I don't like it.
Sucky monkey baby.
The sucky monkey
The
baby.
sucky monkey
I
baby.
believe John has outdone himself on the speed at which he's able to title an episode.
Just like popping them out.
Sucky monkey baby.
He's gonna have that little monkey from the commercial.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye everybody. See you next time.
Oh, but I don't want to fight a baby.